Well, hello everyone. Welcome to the We're Not Stumped podcast. I'm your host, Mike Bolin, and today it's headlines and highlights. I have one story I want to highlight and one organization I want to talk about. Today it is February 13th, and this is for the week of February 10th. So I hope everyone's having a good week. A couple show notes before I get into what I want to talk about. Some show notes. Today I interviewed Jessica Cox to be on the We're Not Stumped podcast. She is the first person born without arms to be a licensed pilot. She's done so much more in her life, and you've got to hear that episode when it comes out. It's going to come out probably 2-3 weeks from now. Tomorrow, I'm going to be interviewing Steve Dowd, and he's a bilateral above-knee amputee and an avid golfer, but he's done quite a bit in his life. And we're going to talk about a product that he uses to help him golf called Verticat. And I want to learn more about Verticat. Certainly want to learn more about Steve, so I'm excited about that. Again, I'm going to be recording that tomorrow, be out in a few weeks. And then on Friday, I'm going to interview Tim Bowles, and he's the founder and CEO of Caligon, which is the first and only smart wheelchair cushion. That sounds very interesting. I can't wait to learn more about that. I know a lot of my audience is in a wheelchair, so let's learn together. And next Tuesday, the next episode of the We're Not Stumped podcast is going to go live. That features Allison Sweet Grant. She is the author of I Am the Cage. She was born with limb difference. She went through limb lengthening procedures as a child, and that inspired the book that she wrote. And the book is actually going to come out on the 18th as well. So she's got quite a bit going on, and you got to hear that episode. We recorded it a few weeks ago. Very interesting to get to know Allison. So let's get right into it. Let's get into some of the headlines. At least this is the first headline. Then I'm going to get into an organization here in a minute. But this one's pretty cool. So here's the first headline. Forreston grappler reaches 100th win, all despite limb difference. Senior wrestler for Forreston Polo Co-op has a sight set on the state tournament. And this one comes courtesy of Erlene Hinton from Shawl Local. So as the story goes, Lucas Nelson watched intently Saturday as his opponents in the 132-pound weight class competed at the Polo Wrestling Invitational. With each twist and turn, Nelson, an 18-year-old senior grappler from Forreston, was calculating how he would approach his next match. But before he squared off against Oregon sophomore Nelson Bernesh for the 132-pound title, Polo Ground High School Athletic Director Ted Alston quieted the crowd for a special presentation. Alston told the wrestling fans who packed the school's gymnasium that Nelson had recorded his 100th win earlier in the week. "We want to honor Lucas today," Alston said, as the lanky senior quietly walked across the mat between the fan-packed bleachers to receive his award. Nelson has wrestled for 12 years and has been on the varsity team for 4. His 100th win came January 9th at a meet in Winnebago. His 69 career pins is only 3 away from tying the school's 72-pin record. Very, very impressive. I wrestled back in those days too myself, and I think I was on the opposite end of those 69 pins. So congratulations to Nelson. To get back to the story, what's not in those stats is that he wrestles with limb difference, a condition he was born with in China before being adopted by Sean and Jennifer Nelson in Forreston. All that is a non-factor for Lucas. He is focused on one goal this year, qualifying for the state wrestling tournament. "My goal is to go to state. I just wrestle," Lucas said. That focus has been a constant in Lucas's life, said his dad Sean, who was volunteering at the meet Saturday. Lucas' effort is his desire to succeed. It's what puts him apart. There are things he can do that no one else can do, Sean said. Lucas started wrestling when Sean and Jennifer wanted to find an activity for their 2 sons. "We started his older brother, who is a year older than Lucas, with wrestling, and it just stuck," Sean said. Lucas's left arm stops above the elbow, a condition that Sean believes may have been the reason he was put up for adoption. "We are honored that we were able to adopt him," Sean said. Arm length has not stopped Lucas from winning. "We're competing in track and field." He also has a part in this year's high school spring play, Annie, as Rooster, the flashy, self-absorbed brother of Miss Haddington, who runs the orphanage that houses Orphan Annie. The casting requirements for that character including bringing a sense of fun to the character and having a good sense of comic timing. Timing is one of the things that normally soft-spoken Lucas brings every day to the wrestling mat. You can always make suggestions to Lucas, but he always finds his own way to do something, Polo wrestling coach Jesse Colberton said. Lucas is one of our team captains. He does a great job of knowing when to be serious and when to pop off a joke in practice. The co-op's last 100-win wrestler was Wyatt Doty in 2023. Lucas boosted his wrestling record to 23-4 in his first match Saturday, but unfortunately fell to Banesh in a 26-4 wrestler in the final match. Lucas's wrestling prowess has not gone unnoticed in the regional wrestling world. He's a very tough wrestler, Oregon High School wrestling coach Justin Lehman said. He has found a way to adapt to what he does and what he does best. He is an awesome kid. Lucas said he does not plan on wrestling in college and said he would like to attend the University of Illinois and study food science. Hopefully, he said, smiling. Well, I'll tell you what, Lucas, I'm sure you're going to make it. You're going to have fun in Illinois. You're going to study that food. You might get the wrestling bug again, but if you do, whether you do or don't, you're going to succeed and you're going to have a good time in life. Congratulations on all your success when it comes to your wrestling and anything you do in the future. So next, I want to highlight an organization. This is a really cool organization. As a matter of fact, this is an organization that I have highlighted and had on this podcast, gosh, it might be upwards of 2 years ago. They are called Penta Medical Recycling. If you want to listen to that episode of the podcast, you can find it, let's see, right here. I'll link to it right up here. But let me tell you a little bit about Penta, who can be found at pentaprosthetics.org. Pentaprosthetics.org. Here's a history of Penta. Penta Medical Recycling was founded by university students in 2016 to bring affordable prosthetic care to low and middle income countries while repurposing what would otherwise be considered medical waste in the United States. This idea came out of the realization that 85 to 95% of the world's 100 million amputees lack access to proper prosthetic care and equipment, while hundreds of thousands of functional but slightly outdated prostheses are being replaced and discarded in the United States every year. At Penta, we found that we can resolve those two problems simultaneously by collecting and repurposing used prosthetic and orthotic equipment in the United States. In doing so, we would be able to clear the clutter out of private homes, relieve clinics of the responsibility of collecting unusable devices, and also bring the ability to walk, work, and thrive back to amputees all over the world. Penta Medical Recycling formally incorporated as a 501c3 nonprofit organization in 2018 and has since turned into a global operating network with government and health organizations all over the world, private and public healthcare institutions, and other nonprofit groups based in the United States and overseas. Penta's operations have expanded to 16 different countries across 6 regions of the world and continue to explore the opportunities for expansion. I can tell you, like I said, I've interviewed these people on this podcast. They are fantastic. Go support Penta Medical Recycling at pentaprosthetics.org. Learn all you can from them. I will link to Penta and the previous article I wrote. They will be in the description. But if you need to find any more about, especially Penta, go to pentamedicalrecycling.org. So that's it for this week. But be on the lookout for Jennifer Cox's episode, the Steve Dowd episode, the Tim Bowles episode, Allison Sweet Grant, that episode. Well, that's all I have today. As I always say at the end of all these podcasts, everybody, have a great week.